A new development tonight in the arrest of Memphis rapper Pooh Shiesty. He and 8 others are charged with kidnapping rapper Gucci Mane. Shiesty's father, Lontrell Williams Sr., and another Memphis rapper known as Big 30 appeared in federal court today.
Gucci Mane finna sleep good tonight because they recently just found Big 30 and they also found the last suspect as well. He was arrested in ATL. Also, as y'all can see, the feds got a lot of evidence against him. That's why lots of people saying it's going to be a long time until we hear another first day out from him.
And when we tell a story about this shit, we're going to be like, man, 20 million or rob your CEO. He the first nigga. Yo, you know every time I be hearing like this, like Suge Knight dangling nigga off the balcony, that should be cap. Or I think it'd be cap. I don't know. Shiesty going to be the only nigga that could be like, man, yo, my CEO is on some nigga. I robbed his ass, nigga, and forced him to sign. Yo, gangster, I'm sorry.
On April 1st, 2026, the FBI rolled up to Pooh Shiesty's family home in Cordova, Tennessee, right at 6 in the morning with flashbangs going off like a movie scene. This was not a wellness check, not regular Memphis police handling basic business. This was the Federal Bureau of Investigation showing up before sunrise, hitting the place with stun grenades and stacking the yard with federal agents serving both a search warrant and an arrest warrant. Here is where it gets real serious. The house is registered under the name Lontrell Williams, which happens to be both Pooh Shiesty's legal name and his father's legal name too. So when the feds showed up that morning, the real question was not just whether Pooh was heading back behind bars. The bigger question was this: who were they really targeting? And what set this whole thing off?
The criminal complaint specifically says, quote, Wright pulled out a cell phone and purported to record RD signing the paperwork while being forced to say that he, quote, released Williams Jr. from the contract. And the little 2 at the end is a footnote. And the footnote says, quote, according to BP's statement to law enforcement, he witnessed Wright pointing a cell phone at RD inside the recording room, but assumed at the time that Wright was taking pictures for social media. So the language here seems to be what's key, and that it says Big 30 purported to record. Purported, meaning appeared or seemed to be recording.
When you start connecting the dots from the past few months, things start looking messy. Social media posts, tension with his parole officer, and those snitch rumors Pooh was calling out in public while still under federal watch all start painting a much deeper story. This was not just some random raid. There are too many moving parts, too many possible reasons, and every angle pointing back to serious pressure building behind the scenes. Pay close attention to this part because it matters. To really understand why this situation hit so hard, you have to understand who Pooh Shiesty really is and the kind of legal heat he was already dealing with before any federal agent even stepped onto that property. Born Lontrell Donnell Williams Jr., his name was already known in federal paperwork long before that early morning knock ever happened. Pooh Shiesty came straight out of Memphis, Tennessee, and blew up fast, like overnight success type fast. One of the quickest rises the rap game has seen in years. He linked up with Gucci Mane's 1017 Records, and then boom, Back in Blood dropped and took over everything. That track went multi-platinum, hit number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100, and turned into one of the most talked about rap songs of the decade. Then February 2021 came, and he dropped his first mixtape, Shiesty Season, and the streets were locked in heavy. His name was everywhere, his sound was everywhere, his face was everywhere. But just as fast as the spotlight came, legal pressure started closing in too. His serious legal issues trace back to October 2020 in Bay Harbor Islands, Florida, and what allegedly started as a deal involving marijuana, codeine, and some sneakers reportedly turned into something much darker. A shooting that brought major attention. Reports said someone in Pooh's circle pulled a weapon and 2 people were hurt, and investigators connected Pooh to the situation. That same year in Memphis, he was reportedly inside a vehicle when another person inside fired shots at a gas station, adding even more heat to his situation. Then, in May 2021, another accusation surfaced involving an alleged firearm incident at the King of Diamonds strip club in Miami. During that situation, reports claimed $40,000 fell from his lap during the chaos, making headlines everywhere. Once federal authorities got involved, everything changed, because when the feds step in, the rules get serious real quick. He ended up facing federal charges including conspiracy involving firearms connected to violent crimes, robbery conspiracy under the Hobbs Act, and firearm discharge tied to a violent crime. At one point, he was reportedly facing the terrifying possibility of a life sentence, which put his entire future on the line in a major way. That was not hype or exaggeration. That was the real situation he was facing. Those were the actual stakes on the table. In January 2022, Pooh Shiesty decided to take a plea deal. He admitted guilt to conspiracy involving firearms connected to violent crimes and drug trafficking activity. In return, prosecutors agreed to drop 3 other serious charges, including the one that could have kept him locked up for life. By April 2022, the judge handed down a 63-month sentence, which comes out to 5 years and 3 months in federal prison. Then about 3 years later, in October 2025, he got out earlier than expected. Reports pointed to good behavior and time credits helping cut that time down. His attorney even told Memphis news outlet WMC that Pooh was focused on getting back to music, and for a moment it really looked like he was lining up a strong comeback. He dropped FDO, meaning first day out, and the buzz came right back. The track climbed up to number 12 on the Hot 100 by January 2026, showing he still had serious momentum. He even got recognition as Billboard's Hip Hop Rookie of the Month. The industry seemed to welcome him back. The fans were showing love, and everything looked like it was moving in the right direction. Then suddenly, that early morning federal raid changed the whole conversation.
They are telling us it was several hours before sunup when they first heard a boom. It was then followed by shouting of from the agents who were saying that they were certainly executing a search warrant. I can tell you, after that boom, there was a back door that was breached. Folks, as mentioned, the home just behind me, according to property records, is listed to Lontrell Williams. Neighbors are telling us this is Williams Sr., the father, of course, of Lontrell Williams Jr., who is better known as Pooh Shiesty.
Here is the part many people overlook. When Pooh walked out of that federal prison in Pennsylvania in October 2025, he was not completely free yet. The federal system does not work like that. He was placed into a residential reentry management program and put on supervised release. Records showed the Federal Bureau of Prisons had him assigned to the RRM Dallas field office, with a projected full release date set for April 11th, 2026, meaning he was still under strict federal conditions the whole time.
Pooh Shiesty finna walk from them charges, and I'm finna explain why. So 1, Pooh Shiesty had just got out, and this happened back in January 10th, I believe. Pooh Shiesty had just got out. He's on federal probation. There's video footage of him allegedly committing this crime back in January, right? He had just got out, so he possibly was on house arrest, which means you're still an FBOP inmate. Even though you're on outside, you're still an inmate. So he has all of these things going on, and they have him on video. Why wasn't he arrested for a violation of his probation? That's an automatic violation.
That does not mean he was completely locked up, but it also did not mean he was fully free either. RRM Dallas is a federal reentry management office that supervises halfway houses and home confinement programs in its region. What that really means in everyday terms is simple. You are still under federal control. There are rules to follow, strict limits on what you can do, and a supervision officer watching your moves. And here is the risky part. If you break those rules, even over something that might seem small, they can send you right back into custody fast. No long warnings, no delays. That is how serious federal supervision can be. Usually, being in that kind of program also means you cannot just move around freely between states. Records suggested he was supposed to remain connected to Dallas supervision. But the home that got raided? That place sits in Cordova, Tennessee. That is Memphis territory and a completely different state.
This is how it looked earlier this morning as those federal agents were focused on several cars inside the garage. That, of course, is the extent from our vantage point that we were able to see. This home located along Beaver Valley Lane, just off of South Forest Hill, Irene, here in Cordova. This is a community sort of tucked away. Neighbors described this area as being peaceful. That is until this morning.
Now, the streets are saying there is video of Gucci signing the paperwork, but at this time, the feds are saying they don't have it. So this really could come down to testimony from the victims. But I'm not a lawyer. And clearly, the real lawyers are already doing what lawyers do. So we'll see what happens. Oh, and the judge confirmed there is probable cause, so the case is moving forward.
Now this is where things start lining up in a suspicious way. Even while under federal supervision and reportedly limited in travel, Pooh stayed very active online. Social media showed him outside, moving around, filming music videos, and living life in the spotlight. None of this was hidden either. Everything was posted out in the open for everyone to see. But the online activity goes even deeper than just regular posts. Toward the end of 2025, Pooh appeared on a live stream with his associate Ben Dadden, and things got awkward fast. During the stream, his parole officer reportedly called him and checked him for not being at home when he was supposed to be. That moment spread across the internet instantly. The clip started trending everywhere. People made jokes, memes started flying, and many were saying he might be risking a violation. At that time, nothing official was publicly confirmed about any violation. No paperwork that the public could see. But one thing about federal supervision, attention does not have to be loud to be real. When something like that goes viral and shows your supervision officer checking on you live, it is a clear sign eyes could be watching very closely.
The feds did their press conference. They said the crime happened last week. Oh, you have a TikTok attorney picking it apart already. That man finna walk from them charges. I didn't know this happened back in January. See, no, they should. If they had anything on him, they would have arrested him immediately. That is a firearm. The feds don't play about firearms so bad, especially when you're on probation. That, man, listen, he would have been locked up.
At that point, he had made himself very visible to every level of federal supervision. And that is serious pressure when your official release date is still months away. That is not the kind of spotlight someone wants while still under strict conditions. But the situation did not stop there. It actually got even more intense. There is one detail that might be the biggest piece of this whole story, and many people still are not connecting it to the raid. Just days before federal agents showed up, Pooh Shiesty took to social media to respond to heavy accusations that he cooperated with authorities during his federal gun case. In hip-hop culture, those kinds of claims can stick to someone's name for years, and it looked like Pooh wanted to clear his name directly and publicly. So he filmed himself going through paperwork from his indictment on camera and shared it online for everyone to see. He captioned the post "traumatized" and added, "They don't know the half." During the video, he said, "They smacked us up with more charges thinking Thado would break us or make us 3 of the most solid news as you will ever see. Name on a piece of paper." Those were his words as he tried to push back on the rumors. Now really think about this part. This is someone still under federal supervised release. Someone who had not yet fully completed the federal process. His projected release date was April 11th, and that date had not even arrived yet. At the same time, he was online talking about his federal case, mentioning co-defendants, and putting all of it in front of millions of viewers. That is usually not seen as a low-profile move when someone is trying to stay clear of extra attention.
Again, this was a hearing for a judge to determine bond and to determine if there's enough probable cause for the case to move forward. And so in this case, a federal agent took the stand to testify about some of the evidence they have against the defendants, and apparently some of the evidence they don't have. So while it's clear the agents have evidence that places the defendants at or near the location of the incident, they don't have any hard evidence for more than that.
Actions like that can easily get noticed by supervision officers and even prosecutors, because anything said publicly, every video, every caption, every post, can potentially become part of the official record. Once it is online, it is permanent, and that kind of visibility can bring serious attention fast. Here is something a lot of people forget. When you post things online yourself, investigators usually do not need special permission to view it. It is already public. And just days after that video went up, federal agents showed up at his family home early in the morning with flashbangs going off. Now, nobody is saying that video directly caused the raid, but the timing definitely raised eyebrows. People started asking questions because that sequence of events did not look random at all. Now this is where the situation starts looking like a real puzzle. This raid actually brings up more questions than clear answers. One huge question people started asking was simple. Was Pooh even the main target of that operation? Because when you really examine the details, things start looking deeper than what people first assumed.
Looking at everything Pooh Shiesty did once he blew up, he might be the biggest crash out in rap history. But lots of people is confused why Pooh Shiesty even wanted to rob Gucci Mane, because it looked like Gucci Mane was treating him good. He even got Pooh Shiesty a new car. But lots of people saying he robbed Gucci Mane over how he handled the Big Scar situation.
The property in question is reportedly a 4-bedroom, 3.5-bath house in Cordova, which sits just outside Memphis. Records show it was purchased around April 2023 for about $656,500 and is listed on the Shelby County Assessor's site under the name Lontrell Donnell Williams. That name belongs to both Pooh Shiesty and his father, Lontrell Williams Sr. That detail alone could change how people look at this whole situation. Think about it from an investigator's point of view. If authorities were looking into the father for any reason and the home is tied to that shared name, the warrant could simply list that name without meaning the rapper was the main focus.
And for those that ain't know, Big Scar was Pooh Shiesty's cousin that passed away. He was also signed to 1017 as well, so you see he got a chain. But after he passed away, Gucci Mane tried to get the chain back and the family ain't appreciate that. Also, lots of people said Gucci Mane ain't like Big 30, and you know that's Pooh Shiesty right-hand man. And Charles Wright spoke out on this situation saying he don't consider Gucci Mane a snitch, because at this current moment he's taking medicine for his mental health. That's the whole reason he made his episodes, album, and book. Also, lots of people saying his wife is the reason why he snitched, because if y'all ain't know, she his caretaker as well. So his wife is in control. That's why during his episode, she'll literally delete his Instagram and change his password.
There are different possibilities people have talked about. Maybe the investigation was tied to someone else connected to the address. Maybe financial activity linked to the property caught attention. Maybe the location itself became important in a separate situation. Different angles could exist. And here is another detail that makes everything even more confusing. Reports suggested Pooh was supposed to be connected to Supervision out of Dallas at the time. So that raises another big question people have been asking. If the operation was specifically about him and officials already knew his supervision situation, why carry out the warrant at the Memphis property instead? That question alone has people watching this situation very closely. So here is where the situation splits into two possible directions. Either investigators had reason to believe he was at that Memphis house when he was not supposed to be there, which by itself could count as a supervision violation, or the warrant was never mainly about Pooh in the first place. It could have been about that address, that property, or someone else connected to that household who became part of an investigation. That possibility changes the whole narrative people were running with. There is also the supervised release angle people cannot ignore. Federal records reportedly showed Pooh was supposed to remain connected to Dallas Supervision until April 11th. So if he was physically present at that Memphis property and federal agents showed up expecting activity there, that alone could raise serious compliance questions. Situations like that can become complicated fast, even before anyone talks about what the investigation itself was actually about. And violations of federal supervised release tied to firearm cases are taken very seriously. If someone is found to have broken those conditions, consequences can include being sent back to serve remaining time from the original sentence, and in some situations, even facing additional penalties. That is why every move during supervision matters so much. Then there is another angle that deserves real attention: the online activity. When someone is on federal supervised release, life is very different from someone with no restrictions. There can be monitoring conditions depending on the case. Online activity, public behavior, and communications can all potentially be reviewed as part of supervision conditions. So when Pooh shared that video reviewing his indictment paperwork and speaking publicly about people connected to his case while still under supervision, that was more than just regular internet drama. Depending on the details, statements like that can sometimes draw legal attention or raise compliance questions. In some situations, it could even cause authorities to take a closer look at a case again. On the legal side, one thing is always true: the internet moves fast, but official records move carefully and never really forget. The federal government does not move like the internet does. Online rumors come and go, but federal investigations move in silence and with patience. So where does everything stand right now? Here is the real situation as it looks at this moment. As of that morning, there had been no official confirmation about who exactly was arrested. What was confirmed is that the FBI executed both a search warrant and an arrest warrant at that property, with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation assisting in the operation. Reports also said flashbangs were used during the entry, and agents were seen going in and out of the house for hours. That alone shows how serious the operation was. At the same time, nobody from Pooh Shiesty's camp had stepped forward publicly. No statement from his team, no statement from 1017 Records, no comments from his attorney. Total silence across the board. And that silence says a lot. Nobody has confirmed whether Pooh himself was even present when agents carried out the operation. That lack of information stands out because in past situations, responses came quickly when confusion was involved. For example, back in early 2026 when rumors spread online claiming he had been rearrested, his label reportedly moved fast to shut that down. Media outlets were contacted, DJ academics spoke on it, and Pooh himself reportedly commented saying he was not locked up. That situation got cleared up fast because the explanation was simple and his team could address it. But this time, nothing but quiet. No quick clarification, no public denial. No management stepping in to say things were being misunderstood. That difference in response has people reading between the lines. That kind of silence can sometimes mean one of two things. Either the situation is complex enough that nobody wants to speak too soon, or the legal stakes are serious enough that attorneys are advising everyone to stay quiet. And when legal teams say stay quiet, people usually listen because saying the wrong thing publicly can make things worse fast. Now look at the timing because this part really stands out. His projected full release from federal supervision was April 11th, 2026. The raid happened April 1st. That is just 10 days away. 10 days from being completely finished with supervision. 10 days from being fully clear of federal restrictions. 10 days from closing that chapter completely. And then this happens right before the finish line, which is exactly why so many people are watching this story so closely. And then federal agents show up with flashbangs and an arrest warrant. Think about what that really means. After everything he already went through, the plea deal, more than 3 years in a federal prison in Pennsylvania, the re-entry process, the supervised release rules. He was only 10 days away from the finish line. Just 10 days away from not having to check in with a federal officer and finally moving without those restrictions hanging over him. Now people are looking at a situation where he could possibly be pulled back into legal trouble again, and the hip-hop world is reacting fast. Conversations are everywhere. Social media lit up the moment the news started spreading. Some people are debating whether he was specifically targeted. Others are questioning if his online posts played a role. Some are even wondering if his father or the property situation had anything to do with it. And of course, others are asking if federal authorities ever truly stop paying attention once someone is on their radar. And here is the wild irony people keep pointing out. The song he dropped celebrating freedom was called FDO, First Day Out. That track hit number 12 on the Hot 100 and marked his return to the spotlight. Now people online are already making comments about whether there could be an FDO Part 2. But this time the mood feels different. This is not rumor talk or internet jokes. This involved real federal agents, a real location, and real legal paperwork, which makes the situation hit very differently. Now step back and look at the bigger picture because this conversation goes beyond just one artist. Some fans see this as part of a larger pattern they talk about often when it comes to legal situations in hip-hop. One thing people always say in these discussions is simple. Federal cases tend to move carefully, and once attention is there, it can stay there for a long time. Local cases and state cases sometimes get worked out in ways where people can move forward and rebuild. Charges can get dropped, situations can get resolved, and people can continue their lives. But when federal authorities become involved, it usually becomes a much longer and more detailed process. Investigations can take time, records get built, and situations can stay under review for a long time, depending on the circumstances. In situations involving federal supervision, certain activities can be reviewed closely. Public social media posts, travel activity connected to supervision rules, and even public statements can all draw attention depending on the conditions someone is under. In Pooh Shiesty's situation, people online have pointed to several moments that got attention. The viral clip where his supervision officer called during a live stream, posts that appeared to show him traveling, and the video where he spoke about people connected to his federal case. Any one of those moments alone does not automatically define someone's future. But when situations like that happen while someone is still under federal supervision, they can become part of a larger timeline that officials may review. That is why people often say every public move matters when someone is still under those conditions. These kinds of situations can build a bigger picture over time. And then there is the question involving his father, which adds another layer people are talking about. To be completely fair, there has been no official information accusing Lontrell Williams Sr. of wrongdoing based on what has been publicly confirmed. But the fact that a warrant involved a property connected to a shared family name and that the exact target of the arrest warrant had not been officially clarified naturally created more discussion around what might really be going on. Right now, that unanswered question is what keeps people watching closely, because until official details come out, there are still multiple possibilities being discussed and a lot of attention on what the next update could reveal. It is completely possible that Pooh Shiesty's father could have been part of a separate investigation that had nothing directly to do with Pooh himself, and Pooh was simply connected because of the address. That would paint a very different and difficult situation. Someone serves their time, comes home trying to rebuild their life, and then suddenly finds themselves caught up in problems connected to someone else in their circle. Situations like that have happened before. There have been cases where family members ended up pulled into investigations simply because of shared homes or shared connections. Under federal law, when a warrant is executed at a residence, everyone connected to that location can become relevant to the process in some way, whether they are the main focus or not. That alone can turn a normal home into the center of a very serious situation fast. This also brings attention to something that does not get talked about enough in hip-hop conversations: the reality artists face after finishing federal prison time. When someone comes home from a federal sentence, freedom can still come with heavy conditions. There can still be supervision, expectations, and strong pressure to stay compliant with every rule. It can feel like living under a spotlight where every public move gets noticed. And let's be real about something. The urge to speak up, defend your name, respond to rumors, and show people you are doing well again is a very human reaction. Anyone in that position might feel that pressure. But at the same time, being very public while still under supervision can sometimes bring extra attention someone might not want. That balance can be difficult to manage. Pooh Shiesty had a lot on the line during that period. Some people feel he may have taken risks, while others believe he was simply trying to move forward while dealing with pressures bigger than just music. Either way, the situation shows just how complicated life can get when legal pressure and public life collide. Whatever the real reason turns out to be, the truth is, we still do not have all the answers yet. But here is what is confirmed. Just 10 days before his federal supervision was supposed to officially end, the FBI showed up at his family home before sunrise with flashbangs and federal warrants in hand. That is not a small situation. That is not something that just gets cleared up with one quick post online. This is serious business. This is real-life consequences. And depending on what comes next, whether this connects directly to Pooh, his father, a possible supervision issue, a brand new investigation, or some mix of everything, his future in both music and personal freedom could be standing at a huge crossroads right now. The moment more verified information comes out, whether it is confirmation about who was arrested, what charges may exist, or whether Pooh himself was taken into custody, you already know I will be breaking everything down step by step. Because this story still feels like it is just getting started, and more details could change everything fast. Make sure you hit like, tap subscribe, and turn on notifications so you do not miss any updates on this situation. Drop a comment and speak your mind too. Do you think this situation is really about Pooh, or could someone else connected to that property be the focus? And do you think his social media activity played any role in bringing extra attention? Share this video so more people can join the conversation, and stay tuned because this story is far from finished.